Good evening and welcome to the Melissa Cardinals Network. This is the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We join you every Monday evening from the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. This is Trey Graham along with Cardinals head football coach Matt Nally. And unfortunately, it's the last game and the last show of the year. And Coach, we sat here and did 6 in a row and 8 in a row and 10 in a row and 11 in a row. And we knew it had to come to an end at some point. After 11 games in a row and the victory winning streak, the Cardinals had a tough loss in the regional final last Friday. Lost to South Oak Cliff 30-16. We'll get into that a lot in just a few minutes. For some perspective, the Cardinals made it to the Elite Eight round, fourth round, regional final round, depending on how you phrase it. And 2 years in a row exactly the same.
Yes, sir.
0-2. Win 11 of them in a row, meet a very good opponent.
Yes, sir.
In this year's case, the defending state champs. In last year's case, the team that went on to win state.
Correct.
And came out on the wrong side of the scoreboard in the regional final, finished 11-3 both years in a row. So before we get into the specifics of South Oak Cliff game, just some perspective on what I just shared with you.
I think it talks about just the resiliency of our kids and the kids that are part of the program, but also the process that we put in place with our culture and within the program that the kids have bought into. It's the worst thing ever. When a season starts, for me personally, when a season begins, it's very bittersweet because it's the first day and you're excited about it, but you know that each day that passes, it's going to be the last day. It doesn't matter if you're playing on December 17th or if you go through 10 games and it's over with. We're going to have a lot of kids coming back, but the kids that are not coming back, that's the piece of it that stings and that hurts the most when the season does come to an end. But I think, like I said, 0-2 to winning 11 games in a row speaks volumes of the kids we have, their mentality, the way that they grind, and the way that they really pursue the game and their drive for the game. So I can't ask for a better group of kids, better group of coaches, and a better community to be a part of when it comes to that type of stuff.
Do you happen to know your overall record as the Melissa head coach?
I don't. I would say it's in the 40s winning.
Say 42-12.
I was going to say, I know my losses.
Yeah.
I do know my losses because I was telling that to, it might have been my son or my wife yesterday. I know I've lost 12.
42-12 overall as Melissa's head coach. 78% of the games winning is a pretty good streak. If you add in your Frankston time, 55 and 30 overall.
It's not bad. The thing is if I could go back in time when I was the head coach at Frankston, man, I would be so much better than I was now. When I was at when I was at Frankston, I was still the OC / head coach at that time, and I just focused so much on the offensive side of it, and I didn't really focus on, and I'm very open about this. I didn't really get into the building of young people until the spring of that last year I was at Frankston. I just really bought into, this can't be about winning and losing. This has got to be about winning lives. So when I got the job here at Melissa, the first thing I told Coach Stinton was, if you're going to judge me on wins and losses, which I totally get it, it is a part of it, you're not going to probably keep me very long. I'm not going to be about winning games. I'm going to try to, win lives and hopefully make people who are young people better grown people. So, but once again, I knew the losses. I did not know about the win. I knew it was in the 40s. I just didn't know exactly.
So you've been the Cardinals head football coach now 4 seasons.
It's blinked.
It has.
It's blinked.
9-4, 11-2, 11-3, 11-3.
Yes, sir.
I'll say it. That's a good run.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. But once again, it goes back to I didn't do anything. I had really good kids, really good coaches, and the greatest thing about it is if you go back and you watch our kids through off season, it's their drive. It's their ambition on what they're doing. I give the kids. We've played so deep the last few years. I give the kids off until after the break, and they just come back with the same drive and ambition to be better the next year. I was talking to a reporter on Friday night after the game, and he was asking me about goals and district goals and this, that, and another. I said, we don't have those in Melissa. We have one goal, and that's to win state, and that's the only goal. And that's what's so inspiring to me is when we come back in January, those kids have got their work hats on and their lunch pails, and they're ready to go back to work. And it's just inspiring to me as a person, but as a dad with someone in the program, but even as just a fan, just these kids they have so much drive and expectations for themselves, but they have drive and expectations for the jersey they put on, for the community, the fan base, everything. They go above and beyond what teenagers do to put the greatest product on the field that they possibly can.
We'll talk more general stuff in the next segment, but we do need to focus on the South Oak Cliff game.
Mm-hmm.
Played in a baseball stadium, which you and I were on the field talking before the game, and it was a little weird.
It was. When we were negotiating who was going to be home and who was going to be away, I really wanted the band to be involved, and I really wanted the fans to be involved. So that's why I picked the away side. But it was
because the visitor stands were closer to the sideline than the home stands,
right.
The way you had to lay out a football field in a baseball diamond.
It was really kind of cool because, when we were there and we got there, you got to go underneath the same, which I didn't even know existed. You got to go underneath, and you turn into a kid again, because when you walked out, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is where the Rangers played, and you're thinking about all these Rangers, and Coach Bobbitt and Coach Paris, they immediately went to the home dugout, and just sat there and whatnot. And so did I, I'm not going to lie. And then you start to just reminisce about, games that you had sat in the bleachers at certain games with certain players. It was just such a cool experience. I know for us older guys, it was a cool experience. I don't know about for the kiddos in the regards of just nostalgic. But I know this as talking to the South Oak Cliff coaches and talking to my coaches and some of the kiddos, it was a really cool experience because you kind of felt like, I don't know, it was almost like a college atmosphere, a college stadium, even though it was kind of awkwardly put. But I really enjoyed the experience, and I really enjoyed the stadium. It was unbelievable. They were so kind, so nice. But yes, sir, it was different.
Something else that you said to me on the field before the game, you said, this is the best team we'll play all year.
Yes.
And I think you stand by that.
Yes, I think that, first off, me and you, we wouldn't say that we're the biggest guys on the planet. When, usually in pregame, you kind of look at kids and whatnot, I was so shocked. Because I had seen them in person. I'd, watched them in person. But I was so shocked just to see how big they were and how physically gifted they were. And, how fast they were and agile they were. And you're just like, oh, my goodness gracious alive. And then when the game started going, man, golly, I was so proud of our kids and just the way they played. They weren't intimidated one bit. And Coach Todd gave me some great advice after the game, but he also...
That's the South Oak Cliff head coach.
Gave me great praise and whatnot. But, man, our kids played so hard. And, you can go to it. I mean, there's 9 out of their 11 on defense that have Power 5 offers, and then there's 5 on their offense that have Power 5 offers. And there was one kid that came in the game and for them, and I was like, man, who's this kid? And, we got people upstairs that go through stuff, and they're like, oh, this kid, yeah. By the way, he's got about 10 offers, and he's a backup, but talent-wise, they were amazing. But the thing is and they get a lot of downplay because they're a DISD school. And the stigma is oh, it's a DISD school. They have a lot of talent, but they're not coached very well. That is not the case. That team is extremely well coached. You can take all the talent away, and they're still extremely well coached. And I was talking to Coach Todd after the game, just kind of how they schemed us and whatnot, and they just did an unbelievable job of disguising things. And I was so impressed with him. But and then offensively, they were going to lean on you, and then hopefully they were going to break one. And that's kind of been their MO all year long. But yeah, best team. And then the thing too is you hear these things like, oh, they're going to talk a lot of trash, they're going to do this, and all these negative things. They didn't do any of that. It was about business, playing us. But it made me feel good after the game. He said, Coach, take out Duncanville and take out DeSoto. I'm including Lancaster and everybody else. You're the best team that we've played all year long. So that made me feel good. And he gave me some other advice and some other things that really helped me, just because of the fact of, my first 2 years, it was about getting past the third round. And now it's about getting past the fourth round. And he gave me some advice, in his situation that he's been in. And I didn't ask. He just came up to me and just, hey, I just want to let you know, blah, blah, blah. And he just keep doing your thing. You're on the cusp. You and your program are on the cusp. Just keep doing what you do, and it's going to work out. So, but by far, yes, sir. Talent-wise, by far the best team we played. And just schematically too, they might have been the best that we've played. They just did so many things that, like I said before, when you adjust, they adjust. When they adjust, you adjust. And when you have that type of talent and you can adjust, it takes us a little bit longer to adjust because they can do a little bit different stuff. But kudos to their kids and their coach. They were great kids, great coaches. Like I said, it was a great experience besides the scoreboard.
It was the final score of South Oak Cliff defeating the Cardinals 30-16, and it was really, in broadcaster language, we say you got punched in the mouth at the beginning. I mean, they had a safety and a touchdown. It was 9-0 in a minute and a half into the game.
Right.
You guys had to wake up and get going again.
But it speaks volumes about our kiddos again. Like, those things happen, and you're taking 2 steps back, but our kids are just going to fight. And that's the thing that every Melissa Cardinal fan needs to be excited about, because South Oak Cliff, what they're really good at is the intimidation factor before the game, and then they're going to make something happen, and then the other team's going to crumble, and then they're going to take advantage of it. And like I said, I mean, it was not. I had no doubt in my brain that our kids were going to fight. It might have been 100, but our kids were going to fight the entire game. They were going to have to earn everything they got, and at the end of the day, they did. Something that is kudos to them is we're stopping the run consistently, and late in the game, they're still pounding and still leaning, and they really haven't been a team. That's what he was telling me. He goes, we really haven't had to drive the football on anybody all year long, and against y'all, we actually had to put together drives. But once again, I mean, it's our kids, and our coaches adjusting while they adjust, but so proud of the kids. Man, golly, I was so proud of the kids and how they played.
The final score was 30-16. Unfortunately, Melissa's season comes to an end. We mentioned 11-3 record. Our defensive player of the game was D lineman Nigel Smith, who's been here a few times.
Right.
Probably will come here a few more times.
Probably, yes, sir.
And I'll let you talk about Nigel and then a couple other players in a moment.
Like I said before about Nigel, the one thing about him that stood out this year more than anything else was just his leadership. He went from this little freshman kid to not saying anything to a sophomore, kind of like, should I say something, And then he just came out of his shell and just like, I'm going to take over the team. And the one thing that I'll remember about Nigel about this year was China Spring game, we lose by 1, and Brother Graham, I'm in a bad spot. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm on a knee. My family had just walked away from me, and I'm on a knee. And I try to just at that moment, I try to be in the moment and kind of reflect about what happened. And it just talks about how he was raised and kind of type of person he is. He comes over to me and puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Hey, Coach, no big deal, man. It's going to be fine. this is what happened last year, and this, that, and another, yada, 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 and I love you, and walked away. And I needed that at that moment. So, like I said, it just speaks about him more as a football player, because sometimes we get categorized as just a football player, and he is not. He is a really, really good kid, too.
You're also going to get to meet another regular around here, our offensive player of the game, running back Nate Adejokin. And we used all those cliches in the broadcast, like workhorse.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy that's sitting over there that'll come over here in a minute was the workhorse.
Right. It's really all year. Really all year. And the thing is that I'm most proud of him is, as a middle school kid, and I've said this before, but as a middle school kid, those middle school coaches were like, you know what, Nathan's really not a running back. He's probably an outside linebacker and stuff like that. And then I was bound and determined, because Nathan was so skilled but so strong and so tough. I was bound and determined to make Nathan the next guy. I had Jabray, then I was going to have Braden, and then I was going to have Ashton, and then I was going to have Nate. I was just bound and determined that he was going to be the guy. So as a freshman, and Nate can attest to this, is when he was a freshman, he was a scout team guy, and he would just take a beating, but he would run really hard. Really hard. And that's all you ask, is just run really hard. And then last year, he was kind of the shadow to Ashton Mitchell Johnson. And then to come out and kind of have the breakout year that he had, that everyone knew in the coaching staff, they knew he was going to have. He's a 1,300-yard rusher, 13 touchdown guy. He missed a couple games. That's what people don't understand is, he's probably a 1,500, 1,600-yard rusher if he doesn't miss a couple games. And that's a big deal. We have goals that are kind of set in stone in Melissa. And one thing is we want that 13, 14, 1,500-yard rusher. We usually shoot for about a 1450 is what we're looking for. Rusher that's going to score 10 touchdowns. We want our quarterback to throw for 3,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, and we want to have a 1,000-yard receiver, and we want this, that, and another when it comes to offense. But Nate is the prototypical poster child of what I want for a running back at Melissa. Just that downhill brute type of kid. And honestly, if you're watching college football right now, that's what college football is going to as well. It's not anymore that, hey, we're going to run zone and you can finesse or whatever the case may be. It's more that, if you watch Georgia and Michigan, it's more that downhill kid, and Nate's that kid. But once again, it goes back to Nate's a really good person. And I've said it 1,000 times, he's raised right and this, that, and another, but he makes that choice to be a good person as well. So it's not just about his environment or whatever the case may be. He makes that choice. But the one thing about Nate that I know is Nate will not be satisfied with what happened. Nate will make sure that he's in the best physical shape that he's ever been in come next season. And people were like, man, he ran so hard. I guarantee he runs harder next season. So, but once again, that's just of the person he is.
Because it's the last program of the year, we got to, because we make up our own rules, right?
Dang
we
right.
can invite an extra player and an extra guest. And so one of your O-linemen, Trevor Gooseby, joining us tonight as well to represent the O-line. Only one. Remember, we stuffed like 9 of them in here a few weeks ago. So talk about Mr. Gooseby.
Well, first off, I don't know if you know this, but tomorrow he is going to be recognized for the All-American Bowl. He's been invited for that, and that's the nation kind of all-star game thing. So it's a huge thing. It's the first kid to ever, from Melissa, have that honor. And that game will be played on I think it's the 18th. Might be the 17th. I think it's the 18th of December. But unbelievable honor for him to have that. Once again, when we got him going into his junior year, the one thing that I think Trevor would admit to is, when kids come to Melissa, they move in and they sit down with me the first time. I said, there's 2 things that you're going to find odd. And there's 2 things that you're going to find that's different from other places. Is number one, the weight room. We take that extremely serious. Like, it is the number one thing within the program that I firmly believe in physical and mental toughness, is that weight room. So you will be pushed in the weight room, especially in the off season, and we expect you to grow. And then the second thing is we're probably going to say I love you a little bit more than what you are used to or feel, we don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but it's probably going to get to that point. And he really just embraced that. When he first got to us, he was a little underweight. He was about 225 when he came here, but his work ethic pushed him to 250, 260. Then his work ethic now, he's 290, and where he's gotten now, he's obviously grown taller and thicker, but that's all, once again, when it comes to his strength. If you watch him in these games, he is just abusing kids, but it comes back to his drive in the weight room and what he believed to do. And the one thing is I'm going to go back to Nigel, because I really think that Nigel and Trevor have really started these extra things. We can only do so much within our athletic period. And what I loved about watching Trevor, Nigel, Nate, all the kids that you've had here are kids that are, when practice is over, they're still doing stuff. Before practice, they're already there doing stuff. When we have the freshmen, we're doing freshman fall camp. They're the kids there coaching the freshmen. It's so amazing. Like, I'll film a kid. Like, I was filming Nigel about 5 o'clock in the morning, just hitting the sled, and nobody's there. It's just him. That to me separates you from other kids and from other prospects and whatnot. So, but he's one of those kids. And once again, it goes back to, he was raised right. He's going to be a great man, and he's going to make us proud at the University of Texas.
You're watching the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We join you every Monday night all season long at the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. You're invited to come here each night for dinner. This is our last broadcast of the season. You're going to get to meet Nate Atajokin and Trevor Gooseby after this break. We'll talk more with Coach Matt Nally in a little bit. I invite you and your family to join me and my family at First Melissa this Sunday morning, 9 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. Go to the website, firstmelissa.com, to find out a lot more. We'll take a break and come back to the dugout right after this. Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. You are joining us from the dugout, and we are recognizing our players of the game from the playoff game against South Oak Cliff. Our defensive player of the game was Nigel Smith. He's not able to join us tonight. Our offensive player of the game, running back Nate Atajokin, who's becoming a regular here.
Yes, sir.
30 carries, 149 yards and a touchdown, and 30 carries. You earned your dinner the other night.
Yes, sir.
It was a big team, a big defense, a physical defense. Just talk about the experience during the game, those 30 carries, and what you felt during and right after.
It was different than anything I've been used to, like, this entire season. I think we did a really good job preparing for it in practice, because if you had given me 30 carries like a few weeks before, I probably wouldn't have been able to make it. But recovering from a sprained ankle and then going on for 30 carries and being okay afterwards, I think it shows what's going to happen next year or next season.
So it is the unfortunate end to the season.
Yes, sir.
As a junior, you're coming back next year. Look back at this season. What are your thoughts as it comes to an end?
I feel like I did a good job with getting better every game, which is a testament to what's going to happen, in 2023 whenever I'm good and I know exactly what I'm doing for every single game, and I can do it like perfection just every single game. I'm sad that I'm losing all my seniors, but, I think we had a good run.
What about the team overall? What are your thoughts?
I feel like we just improved every game like we did last year. Like how our team last year, we went from losing to Salina in the second game of the season to, beating Argyle and all that stuff. I feel like that's what we did this year too.
And you have been here for a number of games with me and with Coach Matt Nally, so I'm going to give you a chance to talk about Coach Nally.
I think he just does an amazing job with how he coaches us. He comes at us with a really good approach. He tells us to, we love each other before we listen to anything outside. Any outside hate from people who don't know what they're talking about, we don't listen to it, and we just listen to each other. That's what he preaches throughout the entire season.
And what is the status of the recruiting, and how's that feel, and how's it going?
It's pretty much the same as it was last time I was on here. I feel like since some seasons are ending and college coaches have more time, that's when recruiting's going to start building up again. But as of right now, nothing's really changed.
Okay. And what are your goals for your senior year next year?
Be healthy for all my games. I want to hit 2,000 yards because this year I fell kind of short. At least 15 touchdowns. Work a lot of my footwork and gain weight. I'm trying to gain a lot of weight.
Good. Well, you've had a great season. Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
Our offensive player of the game in the contest against South Oak Cliff was running back Nate Adejokin. We'll take a break and let you meet another of Cardinal players. You'll get to meet offensive lineman Trevor Gooseby right after this. Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We get to introduce you to lots of different folks all season long. And tonight, in our final broadcast of the season, I want to introduce you to offensive lineman Trevor Gooseby, senior. And he's had a great run as a Cardinal, headed on to play college football. First of all, welcome to the dugout.
Thank you.
Glad to see you. And I asked Nate Adejokin a moment ago, just review the season, first of all.
Started off rocky with 3 losses in a row, but as we started getting the ball rolling, we started gelling together, and we ended up winning 11 straight. I'm pretty sure.
Correct.
Before losing the sock, obviously, but I feel like it was a pretty successful season overall.
It was 0-2 and then 11 in a row.
Oh, was
Yep. So what changed? What was the switch that was pulled there between 0-2 and 11-0?
I think it was just like last year. We just had that wake up call, like we need to get stuff going, and so after that we just kind of rolled through district. Obviously beat a good Lovejoy team, and then went to playoffs and went 4 rounds deep. So yeah.
Your second year in Melissa, right?
Yes,
How
sir.
has your experience as a Cardinal been?
It's been great. I mean, the community, they're all about the football team here. That's really what helped me enjoy this process so much, was the fans and everything. We get breakfast on Saturdays, and we always get meals and stuff, and everybody's just trying to help us out. So I really appreciated that.
And talk about the coaching staff.
Coaching staff was awesome. I mean, I came in, I was about 6'3"-ish, 190 pounds, and obviously Coach Pickup, who was our strength coach, really helped me out to become the guy I am today. So that, and then my O-line coach, Coach Ross, he really helped me with my technique, because this is actually my second year playing left tackle ever. So he really helped me out with my technique and stuff. So yeah.
So 6'6" now. What are we at? 280, 290?
6'7", 285-ish.
6'7". Okay. All right. Now talk about Matt Nally, the head coach.
Oh, Nally, I love Nally. I mean, he's just such an approachable guy. But like when he talks when he needs to talk business, he'll talk business. I mean, he really helped me with my recruiting also. Just bringing in college coaches to come look at me. So I really appreciate that from him.
And on behalf of my Aggie father and my Aggie daughter, we have to talk about your school choice.
Yeah.
The University of Texas. You're going to go down there and be in the orange people down there. Why did you choose that?
First of all, everybody on my mom's side, they all went to Texas. So I've always been a Texas fan since I was growing up. I actually have a wall of only Texas stuff in my room. So that and then the coaching staff, they just really showed a vast interest in me, and they laid out their plan to me that I was coming in, they can just mold me into what they need me to be. Obviously they're coming from Alabama, which has been a blue blood for a while now, and so Coach Flood, the O-line coach, he's put a couple guys in the league that I think I could be on that list too. So
how was the recruiting process overall?
At times it was stressful, but I mean, I had a lot of good experiences. Like when I went to Bedlam at Oklahoma State last year, that was super fun. But overall, I mean, it was a pretty good process.
And what are your goals as you move down to Austin? What are your goals moving into college football?
I guess just transforming into the player that they need me to be, and making sure that I'm there for the team. No matter what they ask me to do, and just trying to be the best team player I can be.
Offensive tackle, what they're slotting you for?
Yes, sir, they are.
And what do you want to study?
I want to major in business, something business related. Macomb School of Business obviously is a top 5 school of business in the nation, so it'd be a really good thing to get a degree from there.
And as your Melissa Cardinals career comes to an end, this is a chance to thank all the fans and the supporters.
Thank you guys. I mean, I came in 2 years ago, and it feels like I've been here since first grade. I mean, everybody just has shown so much love that I couldn't even imagine. So I really appreciate you guys for that.
Our special guest, offensive lineman Trevor Gooseby, a senior, wrapped up his Melissa career. Now he's heading down to Austin to play for the Longhorns. Congratulations. Thanks for being here. Glad to have you. We're going to come back with a very special guest right after this. You're watching the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. Welcome back to the Dugout. This is Trey Graham, our final edition this season of the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. You've met a lot of coaches and a lot of players all season long, so tonight we're going to let you introduce you to one of the parents, Michael Gooseby, the dad of Trevor Gooseby, and a big football fan himself. Mr. Gooseby, welcome to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight.
Good to have you.
Absolutely.
First of all, before we talk Melissa, you played a little football and a little sports in your day.
I did.
Tell us the story.
Well, I actually grew up a basketball player.
Okay.
And then in high school, because our football coach at the time wanted me to play strictly football, I said, well, I want to play both.
Where was this?
This was in Arlington, Texas, at
Okay.
Sam Houston High School.
Okay.
And so a bunch of us basketball guys who didn't want to just play football, we decided we're going to play basketball. So we just played basketball in high school. We didn't play football.
No football.
No football. And then I left high school and went off to go play basketball at the University of Maryland, Baylor.
Okay.
And then about halfway through that career, I decided to switch back to football.
Really?
And I transferred to the University of North Texas
To play football?
to play football and basketball
At North Texas?
at North Texas. So
Okay.
I shifted over and played, sat out. At that time, there was rules that you had to sit out. It's not like today
It's
with
a
the
different
portal.
world, yes.
And so, I sat out, and while I was sitting out, I walked onto the football field. And so that's how that happened. And I got very lucky my senior year, got some NFL tryouts, and then decided the Cowboys was probably the closest place I could stay because I was too poor to travel to the other cities. So got a shot with those guys and was able to go to the training camp with them in '95, and then ended up in New Orleans for a few years.
Really?
Yeah.
Very good.
So it's a small world.
And now lived in Melissa 2 years. How'd you get here?
Well, it was an interesting play. COVID happened, and our kids were struggling with being home all the time, and so
Where were you?
we were at we were in downtown Dallas
Okay.
at Woodrow Wilson High School, and so we just decided. Mama said, "Hey, we got to make a move, and it's time to make a move." So we just wanted to get them out of the city. Not that it was terrible. It just they were really having a hard time being home, and the whole academic thing was kind of wonky at the time. So she just said, "This is what we're going to do, and this is where we're headed. What do you think?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess we're going to be moving." And so that's kind of how it happened. Now, the Finnegans had a tremendous amount of influence on us because we had grown up with Sam and Garth and Amy and the whole family. So they had already been up here. And so that really helped our decision. And Mama prayed about it. I prayed about it. She said, "Yep, this is the one." So it worked out. She ultimately made the call. And it
now
it worked
looking
out.
back, tell us about your experience here.
Just short of amazing. The fan base, the parents, the students, the faculty, staff, everybody's just been amazing. They really get what it means to be a Melissa Cardinal, and I never knew what that really meant until I got around it and saw how the community formed and came around the kids, and we still have one younger son here
Right.
now, and so it's been great. Coach Rosh, Coach Nally, Coach Russell, I mean all the coaching staff, the training staff, they've just been they've looked out for my kids. So for us, it's been a blessing.
And I asked Trevor about the recruiting process from the athlete side. What
Yeah.
about from the dad side?
Yeah, so that's a lot more intense from the perspective of the travel and trying to make arrangements and get down there, and then you get to sit back and watch him kind of do his thing. It's heavy. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, to be honest with you. I'm glad he got to have a better experience, but for us it was taxing. We're dragging the youngest one around the whole time. But for him, he got to see some great things as a dad. I really got to interact with the coaching staff and really got to kind of see what it was all about, right? Because I never went through that. I was never a D1 athlete in that level. So I'm proud of him for what he's been able to accomplish here in Melissa for sure, because we did not have that coming here. He was barely recruited. No, he wasn't even recruited. So, but it does help that he dug in. And but yeah, great experience, very tiring, but it was awesome. Had a great time.
You're also a viewer or listener to the Melissa Cardinals Network.
I am.
Talk about
Absolutely.
The chance that we've all had to cover the team the last couple of years.
It's been a lot of fun. So we have a lot of family on my side who can't attend the games, but the Melissa Cardinal Network has allowed everyone to log in, jump in, and kind of be a part of the game day experience, which I've always appreciated from day one. I think I've ran into you a couple times when you guys are setting up, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. You guys have a phenomenal setup. But for me personally, it just allows my elderly family, part of the family, to be able to see the boys without having to travel all over the state, because we never really traveled a ton when we were at Woodrow. So it's been a great experience, and I can see it continuously growing over and over again. So I'm excited for that.
Good. Well, your son Austin, right, is
Austin Goosey,
a freshman, right?
He's a freshman.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're sort of on the tail end of the Trevor's experience
Right.
here, in the beginning of Austin's side.
Right.
So tell the younger parents, the middle school parents that are watching, give a little fatherly advice on their role the next few years.
Yeah. So, the first thing I would say is get your rest, because it's going to be if your son or daughter is really locked in and wanting to play college sports. It's a lot of AAU from a basketball side. It's a lot of camps from the football side. And it's just a lot of tireless after hours, early morning workouts that and this is my third son, so it's like I'm getting old, and but it's been a lot of fun. So I would definitely say, look, lock in and whatever your child wants to do, just be there, because eventually it's going to come to an end.
Right.
And that's the sad part. It's even exciting as a parent to watch them go on, but it's kind of sad because you're like, well, wow, what am I going to do now? So I've got 3.5, almost 4 years left with Austin, and that kid's already been through all the recruiting process. I think he's bored now. So, but yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, and take lots of pictures and take lots of videos.
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
and
you.
Congratulations to Trevor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
You're very welcome. It's an honor to have Michael Gooseby, a parent, here on the broadcast. We'll take a break. We'll talk more with Matt Nally. You're joining us from the dugout on the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. Welcome back to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. This is Trey Graham with Cardinals head football coach Matt Nally. Our season-ending episode tonight. So we do want to say thank you to all the folks here at the dugout for hosting us. And we'll do a little bit of season wrap-up. In case you haven't counted yet, your offense scored 608 points in 14 games. That would be 43.5 points per game. Your defense allowed 385. That's 27.5 points per game.
Yes, sir.
So 43-27, basically, your average score. I know how you coaches think. You're going to say it's good on the top line, not so great on the bottom line. Outscore your opponent 16 points per game, every game.
Right. Once again, that goes back to the coaches. Now, scored points is 608. I don't remember when I was the OC how many points I scored. I hope it's more than 608.
I'll go look it up for you.
But once again, it's just those coaches did a great job, and those kids did a great job of executing the game plans. So, and I think it was a little bit of a learning curve too. Going into 5A, we didn't really know what to expect. You're talking to people, because I've never coached. This is the highest I've ever coached. I've had a couple guys on my staff that had coached at 5 and 6A, and we knew nothing about our district besides Terrell. So it was just that's kudos to the coaching staff and the kiddos for what they did.
We asked you last week to be analysts, so we get to do that again.
Yes, sir. Awesome.
South Oak Cliff moves on to the state semifinals to play the Argyle Eagles, somebody you're familiar with, of course.
Right.
Give us the analyst look at Argyle versus Sock in the state semifinal.
I think both offenses are the exact same. So it's going to be a low-scoring game. We're not talking about the defenses just yet. Just because Sock is wanting to run the ball, Argyle is wanting to run the ball. They're going to run the exact same schemes against each other. The whole key is going to be Argyle's front, defensive front against Sock's offensive front. And I say that because Argyle runs a exotic defense, but they have 6 people in the box initially, and it turns into a 7-8 man box. But when it turns into a 7-8 man box, how is Sock going to take advantage of that? So, and then on the other side, Sock's defense is just so good, and Argyle has been leaning on their defense for probably the last month and a half, 2 months. So, and they've had some issues with some things. So, if you want if I had to bet, I'm not going to give like a point differential or whatever the case may be, but I'm going to say that Sock wins the game, and Sock is probably the back-to-back state champion of 5A Division II. You can talk about talent or whatever the case may be, but right now they have the talent and the coaching that is going to push them through. And no hate on Argyle, but I think that Argyle and Coach Rogers and myself have been talking for the last couple weeks about Sock, and I think that Argyle is an unbelievable team, but they haven't played anybody like them. Kind of like us, we hadn't played anybody like them until then. So they're going to have to play A+ ball. I'm not quite sure that our Sock has to play A+ to win. I think they got to play A ball. I think they got to play, they're going to have to play good, really, really, really good. Because A, you don't know what's going to happen on a Friday night, but B, Argyle can do some things to hurt you, to put you in a bad situation. And Sock's, what they do on offense isn't to score quick. It's ball control. Our offense isn't like that. We want to play fast. We want to score fast and whatnot, whereas they're not. They're going to spread you out like we do with our splits, and they're going to cram the box in, and they're going to lean on you. So to me, it comes down to Sock's offensive front and Argyle's defensive front. And it's going to be fun to see how they adjust to that. Just because Sock isn't a big-time throwing team. Like for us, they would stay in that 3-high shell and do some things because we like to throw it around a little bit. But it's going to be interesting because Argyle is just not that way. Argyle used to be that way, and now they've adjusted, and they're more of a quarterback run team, in between the tackles team. It's going to be fun to see how those two sides of the ball get after it. It's not going to come down to, Argyle making a great throw at the end of the game or Sock making a great throw at the end of the game. It's going to be a brutal game. And you got Van Poppel on the front for Argyle, and you have, I can't think of his name, but he's going to Boise State. Their Mike Backer is a walk-on at Oklahoma State. Their safety is going to Sam Houston. Those 2 other safeties are going to Illinois. So there's a lot of talent on that Argyle defensive side of the football. But once again, it comes on the Sox side, and I did not realize just how big their front was. And when you watch it on film, you not really get a good perspective until you see them in person, how physical they really are. So, and that's really tough. And when you're big and physical and you can win the line of scrimmage, that's how you win football games. So I think it's going to be like a heavyweight boxing match. I'll give you a point difference. I think it's Sock by 3.
Sock by 3.
Sock by 3.
State semifinal game for those of you who are high school football fans, the 14-0 Argyle Eagles against the 11-3 on an 11-game winning streak,
Right.
South Oak Cliff Golden Bears. Because our season's coming to an end and you've had a couple days to think about this, general question, review the season for us.
The first thing that comes to my mind is proud. I think that our kids, because we live in a world right now where it's all about the current moment, and it's not about the longevity and just the process per se. It's all about now. And those kids back in August and September, because of social media, because of just naysayers in general, whatever the case, those kids could have packed it up, but they didn't. They believed in each other, they believed in the process, and they kept pushing forward. And then you go into that Lovejoy game where at the beginning of the season, everyone was looking at that Lovejoy game, but nobody really gave the Cardinals a shot. And to watch them go out and play the way they played through adversity, and to play extremely tough, and to look at those guys in the face and say, hey, we're here, and we're not going away. And then to fight through the Ennis game, to fight through the first quarter of the Hallsville game, just the whole time. And then, I mean, what people don't understand, it's 16-15 against Sock in the middle of the third quarter, and that is a great football team. So for me, it's going to be pride. That's the only word that I can really say it. And the reason I say that is, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my wife about just overall the season this weekend, and just, I don't know if I've been more proud of a team than I am this team. I was so proud of the team last year from coming from that 0-2 start, but I knew that we were about to go on a roll. I knew it, but we had lost so many pieces and so much leadership from 2 years ago to this year, and to watch kids step up who I didn't think were going to be leaders, who were leaders, and put the team on their back in certain times. Just so proud of the kids and where they've come from to where we are now. So proud.
We've talked about this before, but there's a sudden stop.
Yes.
14 games. You had scrimmages before that. You had 2 days before
Right.
that. And then Friday night about 11 o'clock,
Right.
it's over.
Right. Really weird because, over the weekend, we're working, and this weekend we didn't. And, this is my 20th season, and it never gets easier. When the season comes to an end, the worst part about it is the kids' emotions. But so many people are invested. There's trainers that are crying. My family's crying. There's band people crying. There's so many people invested in the season, and that's the worst part of it. But just restless over the weekend. Like I was telling my wife, my wife's probably already wants me to go back to work because I'm like, we got to do this and we got to do that and blah blah blah, because you don't have anything to do. But the thing about it is you get to sit back and reflect. Like, I gotta start taking care of myself better physically. My spiritual life's got to get better. And but coaches we get about a month off because I make sure that the last 2 weeks we're going to take off, and then we're obviously the Christmas break we're going to take off, and then when we get back into January, we're going to get right back into it. We don't really do anything football-wise in January. It's more competition and team building. We really cram in and try to just press a bunch of character in there as well. And then February, we're back into football. In March, it's more. And then April, it's a lot more. And then May, you're doing spring football, and you're right back into it again. So, but, yeah, it's I don't know what to say to that, Brother Graham, just because of the fact of I struggled with it Saturday and I struggled with it Sunday. I struggle with seeing kids' faces. I struggle with that because you just can't get those emotions out of your head. And then you struggle with, what am I going to do with my time? Because you're used to really the coach's life begins in June. But it really ramps up July 1. I mean, it is. We're normally working 5 days a week. January, February, March, April, May, June. July goes to 7 days a week, and it's July, August, all the way through the season. It is every single day. And you just get used to the process and used to things that are going on, and then all of a sudden, like you said, it ends. And you kind of can't figure out, what to do. And a couple of my friends who've been out of the playoffs. I mean, I called him and said, what do you do? The craziest thing is I'm looking up, what do 40-year-old men do for hobbies, just trying to figure out something to do.
I think they're hiring at the dugout. If you need it.
It's crazy. I mean, I hate to be this way, but it's the truth. I looked up seasonal jobs,
Okay.
just what am I going to do?
I'll introduce you to the boss man. And let you...
But my middle son is playing basketball, so that helps me out. I love basketball, and so it gives me an opportunity to go and kind of be around that and whatnot. But the biggest thing for me over the weekend was just reconnecting with my family again, and and I'm sure that was every coach, because you're gone for so long. And those people, though, that's the craziest thing about it. Those people are so invested in the season, and those people are so invested into the kids. And then it gets to that point. I mean, that's the toughest thing, is watching everyone's reaction. And like I said, I struggle with it right now. But it was a fun ride. And what I hope that every kid got out of this year was not 11 wins, not any stats, nothing, not any accolades. I hope they got something from being a part of the program that's going to help them out further in life. So that's my ultimate goal.
Very good. Before I give you the last question, I'll say, well done.
Thank you.
Well done to the team. Well done to the players. Tremendous season. Thanks to all the support of the Melissa Cardinals Network. We try to bring you all these different kinds of broadcasts to keep you informed and let you be a part of this program. So the last question, the 2022 season has come to an end. Now we want the preview of the 2023 season.
So Coach Todd told me after the game, I'd been in the fourth round for a couple years, and before the game he was awesome. We were just chit-chatting and whatnot. But after the game he said, "Look, I've been in these situations before. You're there. You're on the cusp. I promise you, next year you're gonna get over the hump." And he said the reason why behind it is it's just the truth. We bring back so many kids, and he's like, the word on the street is y'all are gonna win it next year. And I had another coach call me, and Coach Ross called me from Lovejoy today, and y'all are so we'll be highly ranked coming out for the 23 season. We bring back a ton of kids, which is always a great thing. We played a ton of kids this year, so a lot of kids have experience playing Friday night football. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of kids played in the SOC game. A lot of kids played in the Ennis game and in the Terrell game, and so they understand what it means to play in November and December. But when I had the meeting today with the returners, you could just see the drive in their face. So that makes me feel very confident moving into off season, because it's always a scary thing, because the seniors you had, like, you're fixing to talk to Trevor Gooseby, you're thinking to yourself, how do I replace a Trevor Gooseby? But we'll never replace a Trevor Gooseby, but we'll have kids that'll play that position, and they'll play as hard as they can play, and they'll give everything they got, just like Trevor gave. So to answer your question, it's going to be a fun year.
We look forward to bringing you the 2023 football season of the Melissa Cardinals in the new house
Right.
next year.
Right.
Thank you for being a part of this season with us. Thanks to the Dugout and the great folks here at the Z-Plex for hosting us. Thank you, Matt and Allie, for joining me every week. We do invite you and your family again to First Melissa Sunday mornings and Christmas Eve. You're invited to join us as well. This is the end of this season. It's been a great run. Congratulations to the Melissa Cardinals. For all of those here involved in this broadcast, thank you. Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful new year. We'll see you next season. This is Trey Graham saying good night from the Dugout.